Hello juniors, welcome back to Computer Systems and Programming, and for this video we're going to go over our introduction to programming and talk about what is code and why Python. So this is our agenda for the video. We're going to talk about what is computer programming, what is coding, the power of programming, popular languages, and best practices. So the first thing we want to talk about is your cheat sheet. So like I said in the other video, this is something that you can use throughout all of programming to help you remember things that you want or that you'll need later down the road while making your own projects. This is not graded, it is not required, but is highly encouraged. So it's so highly encouraged that we have made a template for you. So when you go to this template, this is just an example idea of what you could do. You could have a date and then the idea and some notes about the idea. You could completely delete this table and make something completely your own. You can take, you could write in pure code and then maybe write comments with different describing what that thing is. It really depends on how you best work and how you best learn. So it's whatever method you want to use. You do not have to share this with me. I may ask to see it if I want to help you do something, but it is not required, and we just want to encourage you to do it so that you can use this throughout your computer programming, because it's really hard to remember all the things. So it's nice to have a little sheet to refer to say, oh yeah, that's how I write that, or that's how I do this. Continue on, we're going to talk about what is computer programming. So the definition from Code Academy says computer programming is a way of giving computers instructions about what they should do next. These instructions are known as code, and computer programmers write code to solve problems or perform a task. So programming is taking a goal or objective, writing it in a language that the computer will understand, in order to streamline the end goal. So think about how you could do this type of programming or this type of process in your own life. I don't know if these are still a thing, but you program your DVR to record shows while you're gone. So you tell it, hey, I want you to record this channel during this time period for this long. If you think about at your school, you can program the bells to ring at a certain time. All computer programming is taking a problem and solving it with code, with a language that is understood by computers. So the goal of computer programming is to create something. That could mean anything from a web page or a piece of software or even just a pretty picture. That's why computer programming is often described as a mix between art and science. It's technical and analytical, yet creative at the same time. Programming is supposed to take repetitive process and make them more efficient to complete tasks, i.e. running games, running through long lists of data. So a programming language is one that a computer can speak, because it obviously can't speak English. So we have to talk to the computer in a way that we have to talk to the computer in a way that they'll understand us. So it's similar to when we talk about that computer language, we talk about how it's similar to English and Spanish, and it has syntax. Syntax is just the structure of a language. So you have a period at the end of the sentence. You capitalize the first letter. That's just the syntax of the language. And computer programming languages have that too. So we won't be talking too much about syntax currently, but it will be something that you will do in the future. So a little bit more. It's similar to English and Spanish, and its order of words and rules are different for every language. So just how there's plenty of languages that we as humans speak, there's plenty of languages that computers speak that are more specialized for different things. So it depends on what you're trying to do, but there's different programming languages that are better for certain things. So now we want to talk about what is coding. So coding is the action of writing instructions in these special languages so computers can complete that sequence of tasks. So we want to kind of take a second to talk about the power of programming. Programming is a marketable skill. It's well paid. There's research opportunities. You can start your own business. You can do a lot of different things with just having a background in coding. So we want to take a minute to talk about these several ITA graduates who kind of used their coding that they learned in ITA to really develop their professional skills. So Tenzin Chodak, he is a graduate from UW-Madison. He spent a year building a portfolio on GitHub, which we'll talk about later. And then he found an issue with Reddit and submitted the code to voluntarily fix the issue. Then he ended up getting a job as a programmer for a healthcare startup called Epocrates. They paid him a high salary and set him up with a place to live and food to eat. So that's one example of how he used the coding skills that he learned in ITA to get a job. There's also Pari, who was interested in code from the moment he applied to ITA. He continued to develop his skills through college and now works for Intuit in Silicon Valley, famous for QuickBooks tax software. And then there's also Jacob, who works for a company in Madison called PurBlue that makes video games. He's worked on the game that was Disney Heroes, and he's worked on characters in Combat and does everything in Java and Eclipse. We're learning Python, which is almost, it has the same structure as Java. So if you understand Python, you can easily translate over to Java. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the 2019 most in-demand programming languages. So right up here at the top, we have the Python. It's an introductory programming choice because it's simple and easy to read. Note that this is the language that we're using because of its simplicity. So you can see on the right, that's how you would tell the program to print hello world. So how you would make the program type on the screen the characters for hello world. So that will continue throughout all the languages. So when we go to Java, you'll see it's native to Android apps, grounded in readability and simplicity. So on the right hand side, you can see there's a lot of like wrapping stuff with making the class and the main, but in the core of it, you can see system. So you want the system dot out to the out, not it's going out of the system, and you want it to print out of the system hello world. So it's grounded in readability once you know the language. The next one is JavaScript, which is used to make interactive web pages. Right there is how you would print hello world. C++ is based in object-oriented programming, which is a type of programming that we'll talk about later, but it's best for performance-critical apps. So it's based in speed. And then on the right-hand side is how you would print hello world. Then Ruby on Rails, which is used for web programming. So Ruby is a programming language. On Rails means to kind of follow a track. They call it on Rails because trains can only go one direction and can only follow that one track. So Ruby on Rails is a programming language that kind of just leads you through things that you want to do. It was used in Hulu, Twitter, GitHub, and on the right is how you would write hello or print out hello world. Go is a language designed by Google. It's similar to C, but with a little bit of different features. So you can see the similarities to C on the right-hand side, and it kind of looks like Java as well. Kotlin, which is designed to interoperate with Java. So it's designed to work with Java, and you can see kind of the similarity to Java. PHP is a scripting language used running servers and used with HTML. On the right is how you would print out Hello World. Project C is an object-oriented programming language that adds small talk style messaging to the C programming. So on the right-hand side, this is how you would print out Hello World. And then iOS Swift, which is the Apple programming language based in C++, and then how you would print is on the right-hand side. So this is the actual by percentage used. So Java is at the top, but you see that Python is number 4. So knowing Python is very valuable in terms of the amount of people that use it. For 2017, the job opening, so Java was up there, but again, you still see Python in the top 4, which is very impressive. That's 11,000 jobs. So if you know Python, you can actually do some pretty strong programming jobs. So next, we're going to talk about a little bit of best practices in coding. So first, stay organized. In Python, it is a requirement to use indentation for different parts of the code. So using indentation to kind of organize your code is also very helpful. Also using comments. So add comments to complex lines of codes and variables so that you and anyone else reading your program can understand what certain functions it does. So when you're writing something and you're like, wow, this is a really long piece of code, I'm not going to remember what this is going to do later, or I'm going to have to really analyze it later to remember it. So all you can do is write a nice comment saying, this is what this does, and then it'll jog your memory, or it'll jog the memory of anyone else who's working on it. Next, use functions to organize your code that can be repeated. So functions are used to kind of use code for different in different areas, but it's the same code over and over. So you use functions so that you don't have to copy and paste that code all the time. And then also use debugging. So debug frequently. This is the act of fixing your program. This will help make sure that your program is running smoothly and efficiently. Additionally, always have goals, objectives, and clear outlines. So have a clear objective for what your program is supposed to do. Create algorithms to solve these objectives. Write pseudocode to translate those objectives and algorithms into code. And then start coding. But at the end of the day, if you do all these steps, just keep calm and start coding. Programming can be very frustrating, so making sure that you're just relaxing and thinking about everything clear-headed, make sure that you're doing things correctly. So let's talk about a few words you should be familiar with. So we have code, which is just lines of instructions to the computer. Algorithm, which is step-by-step instructions. Function, which is mini programs that can be referenced later. Loops, which is the repetition of different algorithms or sections of code. Iterating is the action of testing along the way to make sure each part of your code works and refining what the code can do. So this helps when you're running into errors with bugs, which bugs are a mistake in the program. Conditional statements are statements that are, this is going to sound like a dumb definition, but they're statements that are conditional to certain actions. So depending on what it says, if the statement comes out to be true or false, then an action will or will not happen. So it's like if I click the next button on this slide, it will go next. If I don't press it, it won't go next. So that's the kind of conditional statement. Variables is just things that store information. That's all it is. Inputs are things like your keyboard, your mouse, your typing. You can have different other types of sensors, like your garage door has a laser sensor, so it checks if anything has went past a certain point, and if that laser is broken, then the garage door will stop closing so that it won't close on anyone. They also have this for different, if you imagine like big heist movies where they're like trying to steal a something in a vault, and they got the lasers. They have those lasers there that if those lasers are broken or the different sensors can't connect to each other, then it'll trip an alarm. That's just another type of input. The output is whatever happens, so the alarm sounding, whatever's happening on your computer screen. And then pseudocode is text-based. It's kind of like the in-between between programming code and English. So it's someone who doesn't know the programming language probably wouldn't understand it, but somebody who does will understand it. It's kind of this in-between so that it can help you translate into writing the code. We go into the steps of writing code because we first figure out what we're trying to do in English. We write our objective and our algorithm. Then we kind of translate that objective and algorithm into pseudocode so that we kind of apply the different things that the programming language has. So different programming languages have different little pieces and libraries that can help do things. So you apply those things into your pseudocode and with your objective and algorithm to make your pseudocode. Then once you have this pseudocode nicely outlined, you can just type it into code. So it's to kind of help you work through the process. So we went through everything for this lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. This was just an informational video just to kind of introduce us to programming and introduce you to the cheat sheet. If you want to learn more about any of the things I talked about, just send me an email. But then just go on to the next video, and in that you'll be setting up Python and idle, and then after that you'll set up Eclipse and GitHub. I'll see you later, juniors.